知啊，我睇住嘅，凌晨 po 出嚟嘅，我都睇到啊。不過我冇報啫嘛。係啊，踩過上次嘢係嘛？好似四川咁嗰次，屌邊有嘢影啫？去晒嗰啲咁嘅地方，睇嗰啲咁嘅茶居喎，死得啦！係啊，因為其實係邊個安排嘅咧？
Attention in the pit lane. Attention in the pit lane. Macau Formula 4 race competitors. Pit exit open at 15:20 to be confirmed. Pit exit open at 15:20 to be confirmed.
你咁樣就變咗冇嘢影咯。 搞㗎，300張。佢喺邊度驚先？咁有心機啊！浩瀚工程嚟喎嗰啲。依家用咩頭嘅？依家咁樣用2蚊一嚿㗎喎。40幾分鐘一張咯。好似係40幾分，所以我咪話浩瀚工程咯。我都唔敢掂啊！我咪將我而家以前啲舊睇片買嚟出，因為好多都最主要做翻自己細路仔有相片嘅，大相嘅，不過而家有睇片就做翻咗，跟住就數碼相機退咗休喺度做咗幾年。冇錢啊！唉，心機錢嗰啲真係好。
Attention in the pit lane. Attention in the pit lane. Macau Formula 4 race competitors. Pit exit open at 15:30 to be confirmed. Pit exit open at 15:30 to be confirmed.
嗰個好緊要，嗰個要藥水啊嘛，即係你穿晒完定影，跟住佢仲有個最尾一個叫 fixer 就係定咗你嗰啲固定你嗰啲化學成分啊嘛，咁啊好多咪冇做嗰個咯，就係同你做咗顯影，做咗咩就叫做。同埋佢哋嗰啲通晒嗰陣時，定期要加藥水啊嘛，要加啊嘛，深即係你啲藥劑老化，咁你出嚟嗰啲嘢點會好啫？ 啊，今次都好搞笑，幾班人同一時間喺，我都話我香港有個香港佢見到我到你個，跟住我有卡，我即刻 join 嚟嘅，即刻買機票飛嚟，我同佢有大卡，唔知我點會嗌鳩啫？嗰啲全部都攞曬咁啊咁啱先阿 Tony 阿黃東明啊，爭嗰個有㗎，唔係佢一早咁樣話暫時再翻嚟，咁啱我8號、10號後面有10號，咁啱咧一個字一個，有唔斷嘅喎，個接人嘅。想就係係啊，嗰12次啊，因為我嗰年就係16號係啊，未執啊，呢度都係慢慢啲講，因為未夠時間啊，因為受眾嘅關係咧，就變咗繼續啊，我眾咧嗰啲係啊，佢衰嘅有時咧就係佢近水嗰啲甩晒啊，但係山上面都未有啊，呢好多時都係咁，因為佢一落雨咧就甩嘅，即係有時佢未雨水多，根本都唔上多，咁而家係咁，真係咁。係啊，山地人啊，好多時嗰啲係。去到最頂嗰度，嗰個馬你如果純旅遊就全係啲，但係即係冇話每間將嚟嘅，咁上去就要上去死啊！喺度做少少咁，跟住就差唔多都係，都係真係去睇。啊，其實係之前有驚嘅，都話呢真係。跟住黃口罩都打牙膏，喺嗰度試，多有試佢天氣唔知㗎，冇㗎嘛，我低個樹都冇咯，山度啲山啲樹咧都唔會好雜多嘅，都唔係嗰啲密嗰啲叢林先係，但係好在今次去新界，即係新界。其實都係嗰句唔好咁大動作啦。公仔 個紅㗎。好，上次都冇咁嚴重，但係依家完全嚴重都得。所以我一見佢哋咁樣報名法，我哋話死得啦。咁其實講真啦，咁都唔好。我係以為我搞掂佢，跟住屌咪真係好似依家學校咁樣樣啊嘛！馬仔你幾時有車啫？你哋咩啫？屌佢哋自己幾條友去影完跟住拉條 friend 啊咁啊都係啊！佢幾時會叫你去影啊？嘥啊你！係咯，呢樣我應該唔得。屌買鏡頭識得揾我喎，成日揾我好襯喎。跟住咧，哇屌！我影啲嘢咧又拍拍聲，睇你嗰個關係。真係搞笑，呢個買鏡頭。我試過一次好激死，叫我問屌掟咗鏡翻嚟咧，佢話：哇！咁唔係咯，咁我咪食咗佢啊！正咁都得嘅喎，3.8啊！啲車未出嚟，上個 pit 裏邊。我見啲人企晒喺度，但係啲車都未出嚟，啲車仲喺個 pit 裏邊。可能唔搞到咁搞笑。我從眼度有燈坐。咩啊？屌，佢咪係頭先同我講咯，我影咗相俾佢水塘空空如也，跟住就跟住，跟住佢打嚟叫我哋飛頭。尋日又唔影喎，尋日反而係滿晒喎，因為尋日先飛100個嚿水嘛，今日送嚿水啲人嚟講，冇100啊，50蚊咩年代啊大佬？飛100蚊啊，平均開1000蚊一張飛啊，我都以為係600啊。有隻飛機仔啊喺我哋個 camp 度。都係一嚿，再做一嚿啊嘛。今日冇人好嚇，真係好重要啊！我俾你落成咯。我會啫嘛，我都係啊。我以前係交功課係啲，以前成日交功課係 都啱嘅，釣魚又啱，係咯。成日就坐艇㗎嘛。打機又玩，玩機又玩，唉，唔係機客唔玩嘅應該話。真人啊？咁你都要有米先得，有咁嘅能力先得㗎。所以佢翻工係。
And so single-seaters are about to take to the gear circuit here at Macau for the second time today in very different circumstances. They were first on the track, the Formula 4 cars, at 8 o'clock this morning. We had a lot of rain overnight, and as a result of that, a wet track this morning, so a race that started behind the safety car. This afternoon, we've had sunshine, we have had a drying track, and now we have a completely dry track to welcome the longest race of the first weekend of the 70th anniversary celebrations of the Macau Grand Prix. And we are about to see the cars and the drivers make their way onto the grid for the build-up, the full build-up to our final race of the weekend, race day Sunday here at Macau for the 70th Macau Grand Prix. I'm Alan Hyde. In the commentary box with me is David Addison, and we are about to enjoy a sort of a build-up light to a single-seater race for the Macau Grand Prix next week. It is a huge amount of colour and entertainment, all so typical of this region of the world. And we are about to see the same for Formula 4 cars, which for the last 3 years have been the headline event.
And for the first time, Alan, you're quite right in saying that about the last 3 years, but this year it's a truly international lineup because we've had a very local entry. This year we've got drivers from far and wide, and I think the reception to the Macau Formula 4 race has been an exceptional one, and hopefully therefore it can start to become part of the programme more regularly, because there's no suggestion that people look down their nose at Formula 4. It's not a lesser category, it's an international class of single-seater racing. It is very, very strong across Europe, across the UAE, across the Asian region as well, and so to build that into an end-of-season showdown between the best F4 drivers, I think that would get a thumbs up all round from drivers, from teams and from promoters alike.
And look at the crowd. They've all turned out in force for the first of 2 weekends to celebrate 70 years of the Macau Grand Prix. It's the normal weekend next weekend, in as much as we've got the, of course, we've got the Macau Grand Prix this year for the return of for the current iteration of the FIA Formula 3 car, the second time they've been here to Macau. And we also have the FIA World Cup for GT cars and all of the entertainment that supports these races over the course of 4 days for the main weekend. But this is an extra. This is a gift of a weekend, and we have had some great racing today, absolutely superb racing. It's the nature of a road course like Macau, with barriers either side of the entirety of the course, that we've had safety car interventions, we've had red flags. Yesterday in free practice and qualifying we had so many red flags, but the good news is that today we have had exceptional racing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we look forward to 12 laps. It's our longest race, and so too our expectant crowd are looking forward to 12 laps of racing for single-seaters. Anticipation for weekend one, eh? It's not bad, is it?
I think it's fantastic that the programme for this weekend has been all modern cars as well. I know 10 years ago there was a sort of historic feel to some of the weekend. There was the Legends race with names of the past of Macau. But this weekend has really embraced the future of the event with Formula 4, with the drivers that possibly next year could be on a Formula 3 grid, for example, with looking after the local drivers in road sports, in the GT categories as well. And yes, Formula 4 is very international. The others, to say local races, kind of does them a disservice, because there are some very, very good drivers from this region. But it's been a timetable, really, that has still embraced the local drivers, rather than looking aside to, you know, the obvious thing sometimes is, oh, let's put a historic race on, because there are lots of those cars and people might like to race them. But it's looked after local racers and given good racing.
And it's the future. They are the future of the Macau Grand Prix, the young drivers, and gives an opportunity, having 2 weekends, for drivers that might not necessarily get into the club, if you like, to compete at the Macau Grand Prix, to have the chance to stand on the podium, to have the photograph by the car in the paddock. All of those things are so important to drivers in this part of the world, and rightly so. It is, for me, the most exceptional race I go to every year, the Macau Grand Prix, because it couldn't be anywhere else. The racing is different, the fans are different, everything about this weekend is absolutely, totally unique.
And it's just the most awesome of circuits, isn't it? I mean, I know people will go to Spa and say how amazing it is. People will race at Bathurst and tell you how amazing it is. And they're quite right, but it's a different kind of amazing. From this, with absolutely no margin for error whatsoever. And for a street circuit, that first section that you're looking at now, past the pits, down towards Reservoir, then through Mandarin, then down to Lisboa, the speed that they are arriving at and approaching through that section, very, very impressive. And you think it's on a street circuit. And then you've got that very tight and twisty, narrow section up the hill towards the Malco hairpin, and then it starts to open up again towards the end of the lap. So the drivers have an awful lot of challenges within a lap. So do the teams in trying to set up a car, especially a single-seater. And the race that we're about to enjoy, the Macau F4 race, is for identical cars. Of course, when Formula 3 started coming here, it was a multi-chassis type category. Formula 4 has never been that in this iteration. It's almost unfair, perhaps, to say that once upon a time the 750 Motor Club ran Formula 4 as a sort of Formula Libre type single-seater series, but the name these days, commanded by the FIA, and it's a one-make single-seater series. It's not the same car across the world, but it is the same template. So the cars have to be a given weight, a given width, a given size, a given type of engine, but therefore it's not uniform across the world in terms of chassis and engine and tyre, but the platform on which they're based is. So here's your blueprint. Now go and build a car accordingly. What it does generate, very good racing, and this year you've got people that have been racing in F4, whether it's been in the UK, whether it's been in Italy, or in the new Euro 4 Championship, the regional series, in the UAE. From all corners they have come and are about to do battle on perhaps the toughest circuit of them all.
And the current Formula 4 cars look part of the family, don't they? The staircase to Formula 1, if you like. They've got the halo. They've got so many systems on the car that they will carry through when they compete in Formula 4 around Europe. I know they've been keen to get them on the same rubber that they'll be using when they get to Formula 1, so that they can get to terms with the tyres that they'll be using, and they really do look the part. And the proof of that is that they are all lined up in front of us beautifully down in the pit lane. It's a very colourful sight down there, and the cars have been lined up for a little while. They are soon going to get released onto the circuit, I would imagine, to the great joy and reception of the crowd that are here at Macau. We've had throughout today visions of the grandstands and the expectant crowds waiting for the action to come, and all day we have seen just faces of complete joy, haven't we?
Yeah, indeed. And the fans, some motor racing aficionados, others here for a day out. Either way, they've been entertained, because motorsport in Macau is bright, it's colourful, it's brash at times, but there's an awful lot of racing that goes on, crammed into a limited period of really 10 hours, because although there's a 12-hour cut-off for the event, they need a couple of hours to take everything down so that at 6 o'clock on the dot, the roads are open. You don't just stop at 5 and move a barrier out of the way. There's quite a bit of infrastructure that needs to be put in place. And
were they putting barriers in this morning, David?
Not this morning. Yesterday it was a little rowdy outside the window. But, well, if they were putting the barriers in, I slept through it this morning, that's for sure.
I think they're in for the weekend now.
But, you know, even so, there are the Rectitel barriers up escape roads that need to be moved. So it's, you know, there's quite a bit of time that's to be taken, and that's why the organisers are always keen to try and keep the timetable moving as quickly as. And the reason we've got this bit of a delay is for a sizable accident in the touring car race, which was the last race on track. That's just got to be cleared up. But as you look down there, the starter's gantry, where the control panel will be to control the lights. There's a slippery surface at the exit of turn 2, which is Mandarin, the corner where the touring car accident was. The pit lane will be open within a minute, and so the F4 cars will stream out onto the circuit. They'll then line up in the order based on the results of the qualifying race this morning, and then there will be the countdown, and then we will be in business for our final race of today, the final race of the first weekend of the Macau Grand Prix in its 70th anniversary year. And it's quite remarkable. There's an event on a tiny little island such as this can have been going for so long, and you look at the roll call of drivers that have been here over the years, even way back in the 60s and 70s when the internet wasn't anything even dreamt of, and spreading the word was hard. Even then it was attracting quality drivers.
It was from all over the world, and the attention of the motorsport world very firmly has their focus on Macau for this weekend and for next weekend as well, of course. But it's a double helping of action on the gear circuit. This only becomes a circuit once a year for 4 days every year, and then every 10 years we get an extra couple of days added on to the entertainment that we get. And green flag is waved. That means the engines sound in pit lane. There's a little bit of a car park in pit lane as they didn't fan out quite as expected, so we've got a little bit of a wait now. Some of the cars left the front of the garage a little bit before they were maybe due, so the full fanning out process didn't quite happen in choreography ways as we would have liked, but they've all got going now.
Yeah, I think some thought it was a qualifying session. We've got to be first out.
Yeah.
But of course,
Yes.
the pit lane is open for a given amount of time, so as long as you're on track, it doesn't matter when you leave, but the pit lane is emptying now.
And there you can see the big cloud of dust from, it was a sizable accident in our TCR race that we had before this race got underway. The reason why we are slightly later in the day is the clearing up operation and the inevitable large amount of fluid that was dropped down on the circuit. Big clouds of dust as the Formula 4 cars go through that, and it is at a very quick part of the circuit as well. Take it easy, guys, as you make your way around the circuit, because cold tyres and a cooler circuit now because the sunshine has gone in. We've got a slightly more hazy look to this afternoon now, and so maybe a couple of degrees cooler than it has been for some of the racing this afternoon. But the outlap, the personnel are already in place. All the grid personnel are standing by. The teams will make their way down onto the grid as well, and then the drivers will have a short presentation this time next week, we will also enjoy an incredibly athletic presentation, the Lion Dance, which is some really supremely fit athletes that it's so colourful. It's part of the tradition of the event, and also allows for the introduction to the important VIPs that we've got from Macau here this weekend and next weekend, and that's all coming up in the next 20 minutes. So running just 20 minutes behind after the clear up operation following that touring car accident at the end of their second race of the weekend. So 20 minutes behind, but you'll also see all of the grid personnel with their various hotels that are being advertised, the various goods that are being advertised as well, all part of the sponsorship deals of the Macau Grand Prix, and of course this, the Macau Formula 4 race as well. And I don't know anything quite like this for the build-up to a race. I certainly have only witnessed it here at Macau.
Yes, in a sense, it sort of echoes a Grand Prix with the build-up, with the ceremony on the grid, but for an F4 race, yeah, absolutely unprecedented. But it is all part of making this event unique. It is about promoting Macau, and it does that so successfully. And why would you make it like just another street race? You wouldn't. You'd reflect the local colour, the local custom, and that is exactly what will be enjoyed. The pit lane is open for 10 minutes, by the way, so if you're thinking, where are the cars? They're currently driving down the pit lane and will then come round onto the grid. It's got about 6.5 minutes before it closes, but number 2 there, which is the repaired car of Adrien David, doing a practice start, gets away now. That car is going to be 20th on the grid. It crashed out of the race this morning when he was running in 3rd place. So Adrien David, who's a French Formula 4 champion, knows what he's doing in this type of car. Really did himself a power of no good earlier on in the day.
Very much one to watch in this race. We might talk about the drivers once they get to the grid, because not one of them has elected to come onto the circuit and take its place on the grid. They are all going through pit lane, and well, that's a few more laps around the gear circuit that perhaps they didn't get yesterday, because they had a tricky free practice session. They had a tricky qualifying session as well, with red flags coming out, and essentially the qualification yesterday was superb, but really only in the last 10 minutes. It was extremely exciting, with the top spot changing hands probably 3 or 4 times in the last 10 minutes after the final restart, after a red flag. And we had an exciting race this morning, albeit it was exciting because of the conditions, so not necessarily enabling the Formula 4 cars to properly stretch their legs as they would like to do on a dry circuit. Well, now they've got the chance to do that, and they will do it over 12 laps.
So around the circuit they can. A little bit of warmth encouraged into the GTI tyres. These cars all Tatius chassis with the 1400 turbo Geely engine. So it's the same car for everybody, but it's down to the team trying to get the best out of that combination, out of that package, as the field then now comes to the grid. And on pole position is going to be the qualifying race winner, Arvin Lindblad, who, despite his rather Scandinavian name, is British, and a very British driver, Freddie Slater, lining up with him. They're teammates for the SJM Theodore Premer team, and the 3rd of those cars is 3rd on the grid for Charles Leung, who's twice won the Macau Grand Prix for F4 cars. So you've got 3 real potential winners then at the pointy end of the grid.
2020 and 2021, Charles Leung took the top step of the Macau Grand Prix podium, and last year he was there or thereabouts, but finished up 3rd on the podium in the Macau Grand Prix, did Charles, but a huge amount of experience, and probably more experience of this circuit than anyone else in a single-seater over the course of this weekend. And now we've got the first of the cars that have not gone through pit lane, so not using all of the 10-minute opportunity to go through pit lane, but instead threading their way through to the grid board and taking up position on the grid. So a couple of cars electing to do that, and the rest of the field going through pit lane for one more chance to explore the gear circuit.
Yeah, and that is it. It's mileage, isn't it, really, rather than warmth to the tyres, because here you're going to be sat on the grid for so long, all the temperature's going to go. So really, more than anything, it is just to perhaps get a feel for the car and another lap around the circuit, just another reminder of where that bump might be or what the car feels like on a given section of the circuit, or part of the driver's armoury going into this 12-lap race, the unofficial Grand Prix, if you like, because it's the main race of this weekend. It doesn't carry the Grand Prix tag, but there's no argument about where the spotlight is being shone on this first weekend.
No, so a few more of them peeling off this time to go onto the grid. They need to be careful and make sure they don't come up to a closed pit lane. That would mean a pit lane start and not being able to take a place on the grid, but still the opportunity left for one more lap around the gear circuit before we begin this 10-minute build-up from the grid, the ceremony that will take place down on the grid. For some time we've had a line of officials at the very start line down there on the grid, and the drivers, once they bring the cars to a stop, are required to vacate their car, take their helmets off and stand in front of that line of official personnel down on the grid, and then they will be presented to the VIPs that we have here ahead of this Formula 4 race, and we will let you know the details of our official VIPs in a couple of moments as a few more drivers make their way down, having parked the car on the grid and to line up in front. So for young drivers, this is all part of the learning experience. They will have never done anything like this before.
No, because normally you arrive on the grid, 5-minute board, 3-minute, 1-minute green flag lap race. Whereas here, yes, it's all part of that build-up. And if they get to Formula 1, there'll be a lot of that, with not only the media to cope with, but sponsors and VIPs as well. And yes, the drivers. And don't forget, we're talking teenagers here. There are one or two maybe in their early 20s, but the bulk are 16, 17, 18-year-olds. You know, this is another huge thing for them to have to cope with. It's not only that this is a massively important race, it's not only that it's a really daunting circuit, but you've got this build-up. By the time they get into the car ready for the green flag lap, that'll be a relief almost.
It was a huge thing to get teenagers out of bed to race at 8 o'clock in the morning, to be perfectly honest.
Yes.
And that wasn't bad. It was earlier yesterday, wasn't it? It was 20 to 8 that they took to the circuit for free practice. Maybe that's the excuse why we had so many red flags in our first session of the day. However, they are about to race over 12 laps here at the Macau circuit, the gear circuit, the world famous gear circuit, and you can make absolutely no mistake about it. This build-up will all just add to the nerves and excitement that is the preparation for this race. It's only when they get into the car and they're on their own, things become a bit more normal, a bit more how they go racing.
It is true, for sure, and they'll, in some cases, be, instead of panicking now, just sort of trying to think, okay, well, I've got a bit more time before I need to get into the car, so let me think about that corner. What did I do wrong in an earlier session? Where did I lose time? Where can I get around that? Let me think around a lap of the circuit. And there'll be, of course, a little bit of time to talk to the engineer. Freddie Slater has just pulled up on the grid, and so also there is the poleman, Arvin Lindblad. You see it's a 1-by-1 staggered grid formation, Formula 1 style, and out gets Freddie Slater. Takes off his gloves, the crash helmet will come off, and he will join the other drivers standing in front of the line of the scrutineering team, it is, at the front of the grid, ready to go through the ceremony with the dignitaries. That's Arvin Lindblad, as you can gather from his overalls. He's a Red Bull athlete, and he drives for Rennie Rossin's Prema team, so the engineer's there just to unplug him. See the brand on the back of the helmet, the AL. British driver, Arvin Lindblad, as I say. And he's just been told by the Macau officials, please now goes to the front of the grid. But although the drivers can stand, the teams can't. They just check the tyre pressures, make sure that they are absolutely right, that no air has escaped, or that they've not over-pressured them ready for the formation lap, which will be coming up shortly.
So more and more drivers make their way to the start-finish line, just in front of the line of officials. This is all before the presentation of drivers will take place. Get them in the right place. There will also be a full class of 2023 photograph taken down here, and therefore the world's media are just a little way back down here on the grid, forming up a start line just below at the bottom of the screen. As you're looking at it, the photographers are all there, and there are plenty of them as well. We'll get a nice wide shot of all of the drivers about to compete in the Macau Formula 4 race. And that's a lot of photographers for weekend one, isn't it? Goodness me.
It is. But interesting, isn't it, or significant, illustrating the importance of this race, that it hasn't got a sponsor as such. The name goes to Macau, and it is Macau itself that takes centre stage. There are the drivers then, all ready to do battle. Jack Beaton, the Australian, Arvin Lindblad there, the officials. And Freddie Slater, along with Charles Lung. Some nervous, some eager to get on with it. Vivian Su. So there are the drivers ready to go into battle. Got one more to come. So I think everybody is now present and correct.
Is that another one walking down as
well?
Yes,
no, there is one straggler. You're quite right. Yes.
You're late for assembly.
Teenagers. What can you do with them? There is another one on his way.
Which way do I go? This way? That way? And that's a relieved Macau official indicating where to go. And I think do we have a full class now?
I think so. Yes, register will be taken, but we should have everybody.
You're late. Oh, we're counting them as well, just to make sure that they're all here, which is good news. And one long line of Macau officials and drivers about to compete in the Macau Formula 4 race, all lined up at the front.
Yes, the one that we lost from yesterday was Jaden Parriott, who had been racing in the British Championship, was on the entry list, but I don't think ever turned a wheel yesterday, which is a real shame, because he would have been another quick contender. So as the drivers stand and wait, we will have the dignitaries brought forward in a few moments' time, and then the countdown will be underway. One formation lap, and then we'll be into racing. I think there might be another driver yet coming forward.
Might I suggest he's going to get told off?
You might well be right.
Yeah.
Stand there, sir. Right, he does at the end. Can't see this on the pictures, but we can, from our eyrie, look down onto the grid. So we've rounded up almost everybody. There's another one to come.
Oh.
So now the form of drivers, what have we got? 22 of them, stretches right the way across the track from one side to the other.
So I think they're all in place now, and the presentation of drivers will take place first, and following on from that we will have the photograph opportunity, and then the drivers can do what they want to do, as in put the helmets back on, get into the cars and begin the build-up to the race as far as the machinery is concerned.
Bianca Bustamante there, the McLaren Driver Development Programme member. And Dragon, the Japanese character, who is really Ryuji Kumita. Didn't start racing until he was 46, he's now 56. So you talk about teenagers, well, there is one exception. He's raced in Japanese Formula 3 and Formula 4 for many, many seasons. Has raced here before, in fact, as well, Ryuji Kumita. It'll be fascinating to see how he goes in this race. You also saw there Mika Koyama, double Kyoto Cup winner, and also Formula Regional Japan Championship winner as well, the Japanese female racer. And the other female representation on the grid you saw also Bianca Bustamante, and there is Vivian Su, the hedge fund manager. So as the drivers are standing ready, that now means that the dignitaries can be brought forward. And so as you look down onto the Macau circuit, there the Secretary for Social Affairs and Culture and President of the Macau Grand Prix Organising Committee, Ms. Ai Yong-u, greets and poses with the Formula 4 race drivers in the company of the President of Sports Bureau and Coordinator of the Organising Committee, Mr. Pun Weng-kun, and the President of the Automobile General Association Macau, China, and Coordinator of the Sporting Subcommittee, Mr. Chong Kok Bang. They join the drivers at the front of the grid. All smiles in and amongst the odd nervous face. And once the official photographs are taken, then the drivers will be allowed back to their cars, which are now surrounded by grid girls, by team personnel. And then we will get ready for our final race of this first weekend of the 70th Macau Grand Prix, the Macau Formula 4 race.
That's quite a photograph for the family album, isn't it?
Is it
a
ever?
Spontaneous round of applause greets the end of the photographic opportunity. And as the dignitaries make their way off the grid, so too will the world's press. I'd say 50 or 60 strong, the photographers down there on the grid. They've got a new media centre to enjoy. They've got probably 5 or 6 times the space that they used to have here at Macau for the new media centre.
Yeah, but they need more space these days, because the photographers, they have to bring laptops and
That's
more
very true.
laptops. You spend more time, I think, editing and photoshopping now than taking pictures. I mean, you see them all with bags and with more bags. I mean, haven't they got a phone like a normal person to take pictures with? What's the matter with them?
They do need more space, you're right. And judging on the photographers I know, plenty of sweets as well over the course of the day, required to keep the old sugar levels up, because they work very hard in the media centre, that's for sure. But you're quite right, we need a slightly larger... In fairness, the world's press that come to this event had probably outgrown the media centre here at Macau some years ago, so it was very, very welcome that we've got this new building here. And now we can begin the more usual preparation for a race for these drivers, because it's now about getting into the car, getting ready, and thinking about getting into the visualization of the opening lap for this 12-lap race for the Macau F4 race this weekend. One thing we've said, sorry David.
No, I was just going to say, that's looking down on the grid, a variety of nationalities, 2 Brits at the front, then a Macau driver, and then an Emirati just seen there, which was Rashid Al-Bahiri. We'll go through the grid in more depth, but then Australia represented, Jack Beaton there. And you were going to say?
And we have said for the last 3 years that Formula 4 cars just work around the gear circuit here at Macau. It was a voyage into the unknown, wasn't it? Because Formula 3 cars first came here in 1983. Famously, the Grand Prix won by Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna is honoured around Macau, not just this weekend, but all the time. And very proud, I think, Macau is that Ayrton won the first Formula 3 race for the Macau Grand Prix here at Macau. But it was a voyage into the unknown to use Formula 4 cars after so many years of Formula 3, and they worked. From year 1, 2020, they just worked. And now as drivers begin to get themselves ready, gloves on, helmet on, they'll be strapped into the cars. We are on the final countdown to get this 12-lap race underway. Bianca Bustamante is popping the hair down the back of the overalls over the balaclava. Does up the race overalls. Helmet will go on, hands device as well attached to the helmets. And a thumbs up from Enzo Yer. And I wonder how many of these helmets are designed just for this weekend. I reckon quite a few of them. Very, very colourful designs on cars and helmets in this part of the world. And as overalls are zipped up and drivers get themselves into the cars, they can begin to now do the more normal preparation for the start of a race.
Yes, that first visit of Formula 3, which was all pulled together by the late Barry Bland so successfully, came at the end of an epic British Formula 3 season, 1983, when Ayrton Senna and Martin Brundle went toe-to-toe. Ayrton winning the championship, and then they came to the non-championship, of course, Macau Grand Prix, different liveries, but still driving with WSR, West Surrey Racing. Ayrton took the title in Britain. He then took the Macau Grand Prix victory. In those days, British Formula 3 was able, because there was a British Formula 3, to race at a variety of circuits that it's started to outgrow not long after, such as Cadwell Park. And Freddie Slater is probably the only person on this grid that can claim to have been a race winner at Cadwell Park, because he was there winning in Ginetta Juniors this year. The last person to win at Cadwell Park and then race at Macau in the same season is probably Martin Brundle in 1983, because it wasn't long after that, but as I say, F3 stopped going to Cadwell, and such is the nature of packaged motorsport that very, very few of the modern generation of driver have been there. But Ginetta went. Ginetta Junior Racing was mopped up by Freddie Slater this year with 16 victories on his way to the title. He did that so early, he was then able to start next year's programme early by coming into F4. 53 down on the grid is Marco Lau. Lau Siu Hua. He is set to go as the mechanics strap him in. Number 34 crashed out yesterday, Martinius Stenson, whose father used to race in the States in his youth. And that car is going to be on the 10th row, along with Hadrien David, who was another driver in the wars this morning. There he is in the Kodak colours on his overalls. Hadrien David, the 2019 French Formula 4 champion. So for him to be in the wall this morning came as a bit of a shock.
Certainly did, yeah, and we'll be looking to make up places early on in this race. They've got more laps to do it in, but you never know how many safety car interruptions there may or may not be over the course of 12 laps. It's the final race of the day. The track is already indicated as being a little bit slippy down at the exit of turn 2. It's a very quick part of the circuit as well. They know what it's like, and the fact that most of the cars elected to use multiple laps when the pit lane was open to explore the track. I'm pretty sure that that would have been a major part of it, exploring just how slippy things are down at the exit of Mandarin, because you most certainly would not want to have a problem. It's a very, very quick part of the circuit down there.
Yes, very true indeed. And of course, there are very few people other than Charles Leung at the pointy end of this grid with much circuit knowledge, because traditionally, you know, a junior category like this, people come into it, if they're good, they move on and up. As Alan's made the point, the last few years, F4 has taken centre stage because of the travel restrictions. But Charles Leung has got two very quick teammates that somehow he's got to try to find a way past.
He certainly has, and the Macau driver, how proud is that a Macau driver takes the top step of the Macau Grand Prix podium twice here in the last 3 years, and Charles Leung lines up third on the grid. Very proudly with the Macau flag alongside on the timing screen. That will also appear should he be on the podium, at the back of the podium, because now on the back of the podium after last year we have a huge LED screen. It shows the flags of the nations, and it also shows the action, which is soon to get underway.
Arvin Lindblad on pole position, Freddie Slater with him at the front of the 1x1 staggered grid, ahead of Charles Leung and Rashid Al-Daheri. Then Jack Beaton and Ethan Ho are ahead of Rafael Narak and the Chinese F4 championship leader, Macau driver Thiago Rodriguez. Bianca Bustamante goes from 9th ahead of Enzo Ye, Miki Koyama and Zhao Kunpeng. Then it is Chu Ka Kam and in number 4, Marcus Chung. Next is Thomas Leung and Riji Kumita, ahead of Vivian Su and Marco Lau. Martinius Stenson is next from Hadrien David, and then Kai Darianani and Lu Kai Shun complete the grid. 12 laps are in prospect for this Macau F4 race.
That's our pole position driver, and of course the winner, therefore, of the qualification race this morning, Arvid Lindblad, alongside Freddie Slater on the front row of the grid. I say the front row of the grid, it's a staggered grid grid formation, but for the sake of going through the grid, front row of the grid for Arvid Lindblad and for Freddie Slater, and Charles Leung third on the grid with the Macau flag proudly on the front of the car. The number 11 car, double winner here for the Macau Grand Prix, and equipping himself very well against some very, very quick drivers this weekend. Number 14 on the grid is next, Rashid Al Dahari, and just focusing. Said before the drivers got in the cars about the prospect of visualising. They tend to close their eyes and get into the zone of working out exactly what's going to happen on the formation lap and then the opening lap of the race. It's a big thing.
Yes, you kind of think the drivers have nodded off, but they're thinking their way through a lap as
Don't approach while they're doing it.
No, quite.
That's what I've learnt over the years.
Tilt over to see Ethan Ho there for Team KRC, a driver that's done quite a bit of his racing in America in Formula 2000, but the driver from Chinese Taipei coming back into F4 style cars for this weekend, and that's number 1 of Rafael Narak, whose father Raymond was a Le Mans class winner in the IMSA MacBook Porsche days that he used to share with the likes of Patrick Pilet, amongst others. And as the grid is being cleared, formation lap ready to get underway. That's Bianca Bustamante, who has been racing in the F1 Academy, 7th in the championship with 2 wins this year, and managed by a race winner already today, Darrell O'Young. But she was a W Series driver and then drove in the F1 Academy, which has sort of been born out of the ill-fated W Series. Most recently, Filipino driver she is. So with the lights flashing as the car's engines are fired, the grid is being cleared, and very shortly they will be allowed away for that formation lap. Can I put you on the spot for a winner?
No, okay. Thanks very much indeed, but please do not adjust your television sets because they are the flashing lights on the rear of the cars. It's a feature of the current Formula 4 cars. Hang on, am I going to pick a winner?
Well, he hedged nicely to try not to.
Freddie Slater.
Okay.
Why? Because I saw his debut in British Formula 4 this year, and it was incredibly impressive.
It would be a very good story for the Brits, as it would be if Arvid Lindblad were to win it, because he is a British driver also, and I suspect that he's probably just going to shade Freddie, if only because he's got a bit more F4 experience, whereas Freddie has had to come from a closed Ginetta Junior into this. Not saying for a moment that he's not made the transfer very well. He has. He's been exceptionally impressive for a limited season. But Arvid Lindblad has just got that little bit more experience of single-seaters, and maybe that's just showed in the qualifying race this morning.
Anything can happen at Macau, and we're about to see that over the course of 12 laps around the gear circuit for F4 cars. The Macau Formula 4 race is very soon to get underway. The klaxons sound. The last few members of the teams that are directly responsible for the starting of the cars run off the grid. The last few camera crew run off the grid as well. And now this is just normal life for a racing driver. It's what they're used to, left alone with just the driver and the machine, and 12 laps ahead around the gear circuit. What a treat for these drivers.
But what pressure for these drivers as well, because Macau can make careers, can't it? Win here, do well in the so-called Macau test, and it is absolutely huge to put on your CV. And whether it's in F3 or F4, then these drivers, if they come away from this weekend saying, I was on the podium, I won the Macau F4 race, then that is going to put them in a really strong bargaining position for a drive for next year, for the year after, for the year after that. The formation lap is about to get underway. We have got 22 drivers set to take on the Macau F4 race. That green flag sends them away to put the warmth into the rubber. One more lap before we go racing, and then we're going to crown a Macau F4 race winner in the biggest F4 race probably in the history of the category in terms of an international shootout. We've got a couple of cars that don't want to get off the line, and if you are last away and everybody else has gone past you, you should not overtake to get your grid position back. I think everybody has got away. Yeah. And the last car on the grid was the last away. In other words, Liu Kai-shun was at the back, so therefore everybody is away and is able to take their grid position as you look down onto that bit of speedy dry coming out of Mandarin, and they've got to be mindful of that on lap one as well.
You're aware of the gravity of this event, aren't you, as you have all of that build-up, and now just this moment of solitary car and driver as they make their way around the circuit to get heat into the tyres. They're coming to the point now which is a bit more difficult to weave the cars because the circuit gets ever narrower and the barriers kind of beckon you in to get closer and closer, but not close enough. They are not very forgiving, the barriers here at Macau, and nor are the walls. They don't give, not 1 inch.
No.
You cannot afford to make a mistake at Macau, and every single one of these drivers knows that. Some of them to their peril over the course of the last 2 days. Now they are about to start with a clean sheet, the start of a 12-lap race around the Macau circuit. Talk about the drivers getting nervous. Get fairly nervous myself.
Are your tyres warm? Are you ready to go?
My boots are ready to go.
You've got grip, you've got grip, that's good. So as the drivers then come towards the police and Moorish, jinking left and right, even if it's on a full weave, just that movement, getting the tyres a little bit warmer. And of course, getting the pressures up as well, because it is not only that you go into battle, of course, on tyres that you need to be warm, but you're going into the first 3 corners, which are blindingly fast. That is not only not a place for the faint-hearted, it's certainly not a section of the circuit not to have traction.
It's not the place for the faint-hearted and not the place for cold tyres.
No, indeed.
Particularly, we've got this slippery surface on the exit of Mandarin, so be careful, everyone. Let's see just what a clean race we can have for the Macau Formula 4 race. Pole position, Arvid Lindblad, the race winner from the opening race of the day for the qualification race. That was only 8 laps, so an extra 3 laps for, extra 4 laps for the race this afternoon.
Yeah, it should have been 9, but because of the interruptions, it ran out of time.
That's right,
so the checkered flag came out at the 25-minute mark, which was the allotted time. This is a 40-minute time point for this race, so it is going to be 12 laps or 40 minutes, and therefore the expectation is that we get it all in. But as the cars come to the grid then, Arvid Lindblad with the Prema Ran car for pole position, Freddie Slater second on the grid. Charles Lung knows what it is like to be on the top step of the podium here. Can he do it for a 3rd time?
Do you know what I always wonder? I wonder when you see the pole position car weaving the car really a lot from side to side, why you would follow and not do the same? Because you so often see it, don't you? Maybe you get to the 5th or the 6th car and they're just going straight.
Yes, yes.
I'd take my lead from the pole position car because those tyres are well up to temperature now, aren't they?
They are indeed. So to differentiate the Prema cars with the yellow roll hoop, it is Arvid Lindblad. With the red one, it's Freddie Slater. And it's going to be a real clash between those two. With respect to Charles Lung, he just didn't have quite the pace in qualifying, and I suspect he might not necessarily be able to match those two when we go racing. But we are about to find out. When 72, Liu Kai-chun arrives on the grid, that will be the indication for the marshal there on the right to wave the green flag. That, in turn, will let the 5-second board be shown on the gantry, and then the red lights will be on.
And we are about to get our 12-lap race for the Macau Formula 4 race underway. The red lights are on, they go out, and a very good start from pole position for Arvid Lindblad. Gets away, gets off the line well. Everybody else jostling for position as they go on this all-important run down ultimately to the overtaking position. Look at them all sorting themselves out in order. Great start there from the top 3 cars.
And Lindblad, you saw going left and right, trying to break the toe from Freddie Slater, who is right there in the wheel tracks, and now he's getting the slipstream all the way down to Lisboa. What he wants to do, if he can, is to try to get up on the inside line. Lindblad covers that off. Charles Lung gets a toe from both of them. Freddie Slater to the outside line. Lindblad locks up. Slater locks up in avoidance. He's going to go deep into the corner. Lung gets up the inside, but he can't quite go through. There's drama, and that eliminates 2, 3, 4 already. And I think the first one that ploughed into the barriers there, well, that's going to go nowhere. We're going to end up with a safety car, I rather fear, because you can see the traffic jam behind. Marcus Chun's got involved in all of that. So the first group of cars is away. We'll wait and see whether a neutralisation comes next.
That was nearly a gift moment for Charles Lung, wasn't it, going through Lisboa? That's a look at it once again. He has a look on the inside. They just avoid front and rear wheels touching as they go on the run down towards San Francisco. And this is where the car park started. Everyone else trying to funnel through the pinch point.
Mika Koyama, number 8, was the one that got sideways and ended up in the tyres and then got collected. So the safety car, I think, is going to be deployed here. We'll see, but it's on standby as the leaders come through, and Lindblad is getting away from Slater. I think Freddie was, he kind of got it to work because he forced an error out of Lindblad. He got him to lock up, but because he was on the outside, he couldn't slow down in time and get the undercut. Yeah. That's what opened the door for Lung.
It was, and we are going to require a lift. There are multiple cranes down there at Lisboa, and for a very good reason as well.
Yeah.
It's not unknown for cars to, it's a lot tighter than you actually think, and I've said this a few times during commentary today. I did a little track walk down to Lisboa the other day and was really surprised just how tight it is as you turn into the corner. It's incredible. We take for granted that 9 times out of 10 everyone safely gets through the area. We've got a safety car deployed because we've got cranes in place and they are trying to clear Lisboa as quickly as possible. But that was very exciting from the top 3.
Yeah.
An opportunity shown there by shown to Charles Lung. Freddie Slater was brave, wasn't he? Knew he had to have a go at the start of the race, and that's the place to do it as well.
So Arvin Lindblad will lead them across the line at the end of lap 1 with Freddie Slater and Charles Lung in 2nd and 3rd places. Now this could be the dream result for Prema. In a sense, they don't mind which driver it is, but a 1, 2, 3 would be absolutely spot on. 4th is Rashid Al-Nakhari, 5th it is Jack Beaton, and 6th is Ethan Ho. Rafael Narak 7th, Thiago Rodriguez 8th, Enzo is 9th and 10th. Now that's good progress. From 19th on the grid to 10th in a lap, Martinius Stenzel. Okay, I know a few tangled and he got a sort of lucky run through on the inside, but he did that absolutely right. In 11th place, it is Chui Kar Kam. In 12th place, number 22, which is the Thomas Lung car ahead of Marco Lau from the rear of the grid. In 14th place, Kai Darianani. So he's made a little bit of progress from 21st. 15th, it is Lu Kai Shun. And then Ruji Kumita. Hadrian David was delayed, as also Bianca Bustamante. Then Miki Koyama, Zhao Kumpeng, Marcus Chung and Vivian Siu, all delayed in greater or lesser degrees by that schmozzle down here a lap ago.
And look at that, clear as they go round Lisboa now. How quick was that? Multiple cars, and bear in mind that you can see a touring car go in there, get reverse, get the circuit clear. With a single seater, that much more difficult because inevitably there's going to be suspension damage at least the front of the car.
Yeah, I think had it been 1, that would have been okay,
yeah.
But 3 or 4 to retrieve, slightly more difficult.
Good work, that wasn't it?
Absolutely. So the safety car should be in this time, and we can go back racing. And this is where Freddie Slater needs to be on his toes because he gets another run here at Lindblad all the way down to Lisboa. But again, even on that start, you know, Arvid looked the stronger. He knew what Freddie Slater was going to try and do to him, and he put the car exactly where it needed to be in the middle of the road.
So Lisboa is just in front of the Grand Lisboa Hotel, and if ever you wanted to make sure of attention over the course of the weekend, it is to get your name on that corner.
Yes.
Because Lisboa gets mentioned an awful lot during the course of a Macau Grand Prix weekend. It's just the most beautiful overtaking opportunity, and the run down towards that corner is in single-seaters, in GT cars or in touring cars, is absolutely enthralling.
So through they all turn. This, of course, all counting within the 12 laps within the race. But Arvin Lindblad strong at the moment then. He has been one of the leading lights this year in the Winter Series, if you like, in the UAE for F4, 5th in that. He went to race in the Italian Championship, finished 3rd. And in the Euro 4 Championship, which is a sort of German-Italian regional championship. German series having rather expired, but enough interest in trying to keep it alive from some of the teams, and he was 4th in that as well. So he's done a lot of miles in a short space of time. Freddie Slater, who is, as Alan was suggesting, a late arrival at the F4 ball, having won the Ginetta Junior Winter Series last year and the main championship this year, then did British F4, Italian F4 and Euro F4 in quick succession in sort of September onwards.
Confirmation coming that the safety car will come in at the end of this lap, so we will be racing once again at the completion of 2 laps of this 70th Macau Grand Prix weekend Macau Formula 4 race. Now let's see what the
Now that was Freddie Slater slowing, wasn't it?
Was.
Charles Lung almost getting ahead of him.
Slowing a lot.
Yeah, because Arvin Lindblad has slowed a lot. So the leader slows them right down. Freddie Slater slowed in tandem, and I think it was Charles Lung a bit being caught out there because they slowed rather suddenly. But anyway, they've got themselves in the right order. And Arvin Lindblad almost at snail's pace. Now gets the pace up and accelerates away, but Freddie Slater goes with him as he had to try to do. Second guess when he's going to accelerate, and although they'll come off the corner with a couple of lengths between them, Freddie Slater should be just about close enough to stay in the slipstream.
Good reactions that from Freddie Slater to stay with the pole position car, and does so, turns around the final turn. They are now going to complete 2 laps, but Freddie did a really good job there. It was a little bit of an unusual, slightly peculiar restart because they all slowed so much, and Charles Leung just putting a wheel in front of the second place car was, just caught out. But now Freddie Slater is making the most of it. He's right on the tail of his teammate.
He's got to get in the toe now to try and do that move at Lisboa once again. Lindblad will know that and starts to try to break the toe, but Slater's got the pace and he's very definitely able to go with him this time, but he's teed up this move once already on the outside to try to get the undercut. He can't go round the outside. He's going to slow down the car, duck up the inside coming out of the corner, and he can't do it. So Arvin Lindblad stays ahead, but Slater now has got the pace and he's got the bit between his teeth.
Thought he was going to have a look at San Francisco as well. He didn't. He slotted in right behind. But goodness me, this is good racing between the two of them. Charles Leung, who is the double winner here at Macau, has got a grandstand view of this. Has anyone told Freddie that you don't overtake there?
Well, Lindblad made a little mistake himself by going wide, going up the hill, so it compromised the run, and that's exactly what Freddie Slater is trying to do. He is pushing, and Lindblad knows that he's got to try to defend now because he realises he's in a big battle. His teammate ain't going away, and Lindblad just ever so slightly scrappy that time on the way up the hill.
This is such an exciting race between the two teammates, isn't it? Freddie Slater really applying the pressure. It's all come off the back of a really good restart, but Freddie slows. He's
got a problem. So Slater's got a problem, and Lindblad gets a free ride. Leung goes second. So all of a sudden, something has gone wrong for Freddie Slater. It looks like it's mechanical because I don't think we've seen him hit anything.
No.
So Freddie Slater's car suddenly slows and it's crawling around.
Drama at Macau as ever there is. Poor Freddie Slater, he'd done such a good job on the restart. He had pushed the race leader into a tiny error, which is exactly what he needed to happen. It almost worked, and then you couldn't believe it, could you? Something goes wrong with the car and the car slows. Charles Leung now in second place, and Charles Leung inheriting that second place as a result of teammate Freddie Slater having some kind of a problem. What a shame.
So if the car makes it as far as the pit lane, more to do with that story might well reveal itself, but now Arvin Lindblad can breathe a sigh of relief because he really was being given a tough time. Charles Leung second, and then it's going to be Rashid Al-Bahiri in third place. Jack Beaton, the Australian driver there in the background, is fourth as they come now over the timing line once again. So it's Lindblad with a big advantage over Leung.
Certainly does, yeah. That's a gift to our race leader, isn't it? Lindblad took the qualification race win this morning. As a result of that, takes pole position. He was being really put under pressure by his teammate Freddie Slater for the lead of the race. Twice going into Lisboa, he had to really keep his wits about him to keep Freddie at bay. And then, all of a sudden, the teammate slows, and we are robbed of the race, but Lindblad is very much gifted a slightly more comfortable entry to Lisboa this time.
And Freddie Slater has, I think, just made it about as far as the pit lane, as Arvin Lindblad then leads by nearly 2 seconds from Charles Leung, and then Rashid Al-Bahiri in third place. Now remember, there's only really Leung in that leading group that knows the circuit, so the others, to be either ahead or running with him, are doing a very good job indeed.
Now the problem with the result sheet is it doesn't necessarily show how good a performance has been, because if Freddie doesn't win this race or finish up on the podium, his name is not there in the record books necessarily, but that was a super opening couple of laps.
Can I just mention that he's done a first sector time, Freddie Slater, quicker than anybody on this lap, as though the car had an electrical cutout and he had to restart it, and now it's back in the race.
And now it's back to normal.
Yeah, he came over the timing line. I thought he was coming down the pit lane, but actually he's carried on, and he did a 25.6 in the first sector, which is quicker than anybody on this lap. So he's not going to win the race. The safety car might help him gain a few more places back, but it was as though the car cut out and he had to do an electrical restart, or maybe he accidentally pulled a switch and did something, but the car for the moment looks to be okay.
I'm very pleased the car hasn't come into pit lane, because this might be quite exciting to watch Freddie if he's got a good car for the rest of the race. Also, with a little bit of the old red mist getting involved as well, he's going to be really fired up for this, and that's going to be great to see.
18th he is at the moment.
18th at the moment, so that's at the end of 3 laps, so 3 laps completed now. Meanwhile, our race leader, Arvid Lindblad, the winner from the qualification race this morning, has put in the overall fastest lap of the race. Well, he can now, because he is not under the pressure that he was, but we've got a safety car. A safety car is deployed for the second time. 2:26.6 is the fastest lap that Lindblad has put in, but now they're all going to bunch up together once again. And well, on the restart last time, Lindblad was put under a great deal of pressure by his teammate Freddie Slater. I wonder if Charles is able to put him under a similar amount of pressure on the restart this time. So, a little bit more tricky to get the 1, 2, 3 for the team now.
Very. But what did Freddie Slater do on that lap? Well, we'll know when he comes across the timing line and see if he's gained any places at all. So getting a replay here of the reason for the safety car. I want to say that was Marco Lau going straight on, but I may be telling you an untruth in that. So it was him, and Freddie Slater is up into 16th place, so he's gained a couple of spots.
A couple of spots on that lap. It's tricky, you know, even if you've got really good pace, the amount of opportunities to get past other cars on this circuit are fairly limited. And therefore, Lisboa is a great overtaking position, but when you're making your way through back markers, this element of the circuit is not the place to do it.
No, it's just too narrow, isn't it? You can do some of it coming out of Malco Hairpin down through Black Sands, and then the road seems to get wider and faster for the next section all the way to Lisboa. That was, again, in Freddie Slater's mind early on. Be in the tow, use that. You can slipstream down there, and we saw the benefits, but then whatever the problem was, it just looked like the car may have cut out heading up the hill, because it seems to now be back at a proper pace. Arvid Lindblad did lead by 2.8 seconds, but the advantage will disappear completely now that the cars behind all catch up under the safety car like this.
So exciting stuff so far. We've got 4 laps complete. We've got a 12-lap race for the Macau Formula 4 race, and now once again they know what to do. Keep heating tyres is the most important thing. And also, they're going to be well aware that last time on the restart, Arvid Lindblad really did slow down to start the whole of the field, and maybe left some of them a little bit confused just how much the field was slowed down.
Indeed so, but the other fight, I think we're going to keep an eye on when we get the race back underway, will be third, the last place on the podium. It could be Rashid Al-Bahiri, who we've seen this most recent season racing again in the Italian Championship. He was 10th in that, but also Jack Beaton, who again has been in the Italian Championship and Euro F4. He's been a rapid Australian Formula Ford racer, and car sisters Jack Beaton, he drives for the AGI Sport team. But bearing in mind that he was quick on Friday in free practice until he crashed, a podium would be a good way to round out the weekend.
It most certainly would, wouldn't it? And I'd like to have a look at that Italian Championship, because it seems to attract some jolly good drivers.
Yeah,
doesn't
it does. Yeah, yeah. They go to some good venues, and it's positioning itself now really as the mainland Europe Championship. And such is the popularity that Euro 4 Championship to go elsewhere, to Germany, for example. Spain's quite strong as well. But yeah, the Italian has always had a good reputation, and some good teams there too.
British one was looking pretty good for international drivers this year as well, wasn't it? You can tell, because on the timing screen you get the flags of the nations of the drivers, and it was for the first time that we had that this year, and it really did. It reminded me of British Formula 3 back in the 1980s and 90s, when drivers came from all over the world. It was the place to come, wasn't it, to the British Championship, and now maybe that's happening for British F4 as well.
And of course it had a race on the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone, didn't it? So it was giving drivers in that a taste of what a Grand Prix venue is like, and really star billing as well.
They became the headline act, and it was very impressive, because one of the drivers that won over the course of that weekend on the live stream television got out of the car and when asked how he felt, used the sort of language that maybe he would use to his friends rather than on the television. So it's a learning curve in Formula 4, isn't it?
And they need a good media trainer.
Unfortunately, I was the media trainer.
Oh, I see, right, okay.
So we merely used him as an example as the year
This
went
is
on.
what you don't do.
That's it. He took it all in very good taste.
Right, we've done now 5 of the 12 laps in this second safety car period. And the cars now make that run to Mandarin as their Marco Lau walks away from the car.
Gets into the recovery vehicle and is about to set off on his way with car on board. And that means maybe we can get this race back underway fairly soon, because we've got 5 laps complete. We've got 12 laps in total. Weaving the cars now from side to side to get as much heat retained in the tyres as possible. Now the leader of the race starts doing the same as well. Charles Lung has been weaving the car for quite some time. And now this time, Arvid Lindblad sticking right to the back of the Lamborghini as they go around Lisboa up towards San Francisco Hill, and now onto the tight stretch of the circuit. The safety car driver and that Lamborghini been pretty busy today, over the course of today, leading every race. Yeah, every race.
Every race has been out of the car. I'll be
You're
low on fuel now.
exhausted.
New set of tyres needed for tomorrow, because it's had some abuse, had some hammer. Right, Arvin Lindblad versus Charles Lung for the lead. Rashid Al-Naheri versus Jack Beaton for third. Ethan Ho is fifth and Rafael Narak sixth. And Martinius Stenson deserves a big hat tip. 19th he started and 7th he is now.
Well, we did rather wonder, and he needs a bit of luck, because luck has not been on his side yesterday or today, but speed certainly has over the course of these 2 days of the opening weekend for the 70th Macau Grand Prix. I love Formula 4 cars around this circuit. They just look good, really good.
Martinius Stenson, just to make the point, was a F4 racer last year, but in the Italian Championship, should you be asking, took a race win, 7th in the series. Yeah, but this year he's been racing something a bit more powerful. He's been in the Formula Regionale Championship. He took a pole and a win first time out at Imola. 4 wins during the course of the year, runner-up in the championship. Now, Formula Regionale, which is a sort of merger of Formula Regional and Formula Renault Euro Cup of years past, is a very competitive championship, split qualifying into groups, really tough championship. So to be the runner-up in that in your first full season in it is impressive, and he's showing that racecraft here by, as we say, being up into 7th. And he's not done yet. This safety car will help him because it bunches up those ahead.
Certainly will, yeah. So 7th place from what, 19th?
19th
on the grid. That's a good Sunday's work, isn't it,
yep,
at the end of the day for Martinius. So let's see what the journey is going to continue to do, because we are not yet at half distance. We will be at the end of this lap. We are on lap 6, 6 laps completed at the end of this lap, and that is the recovery of the reason for the red flag. That's now CUR and the Hong Kong driver's car, and the Hong Kong driver as well in the recovery vehicle, going back to base now, back to the paddock, and with the Lamborghini leading the field round for the Melco hairpin, we could well be getting this race back underway.
Indeed so, and the lights staying on for the moment, so I rather fear one more lap. But
I think so, because of the amount of distance the recovery vehicle has got to cover, I'm afraid. So it might be just one more lap.
It's a really tough one sometimes for the race officials, because you want the safety car to go quickly enough to enable the drivers to maintain a sensible temperature in the tyres, but not so quickly that it's coming around so often that you're losing laps under the safety car, even on a long lap like this. So one more lap then behind the safety car. That puts 6 in the book, and we're at halfway now.
And they know where the recovery is taking place, so they've seen that the recovery vehicle is on its way. So they know now to get even more heat into the tyres and to weave the car a little bit more oil, or something slippery is down at that corner as a legacy of that incident. So the slippery surface flag is being displayed. The marshals work, we can't see it because it's just behind the fence there on that camera angle, but that was the one thing that we didn't think about. We just thought the car had been recovered and therefore we could get the race back underway. Not until we get the slippery surface dealt with.
Now the marshal heading off, I think, for some more speedy dry to put down on the liquid. So fingers crossed this will be the last lap. They're all frantically working as quickly as possible to sort out the circuit, and then the race director, if he's happy, can give the call and we can get the race back underway then for the resumption of the Macau F4 race. The slippery surface in that incident area confirms that the teams are aware, they can tell the drivers that, and we'll be back racing as soon as.
So was that the reason for the incident, or as a result of the incident? Because it's at two places, isn't it?
I would have thought it was
a result of,
frankly.
Yeah.
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 What we now want is the lights to be extinguished atop the safety car, which is the sign that it will be coming in at the end of the lap.
Well, no indication that that is about to happen. Most important is that they deal first of all with the slippery surface, and we'll take it away. Just realised it's the first time they've used slick tyres today, isn't it? Wet tyres this morning for the qualification race. And although they were weaving the cars this morning, I would imagine the amount of heat they could get in the tyres was fairly negligible in the conditions this morning. But now confirmation comes that the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. That's good news. So let's get that tyre warming process underway, guys, because we are about to get racing back underway at the end of what this will be 7 laps complete.
And Arvin Lindblad did a really good job on the restart first time around, but Charles Lung will know that this is his opportunity to have a go for P1. Jack Beaton likewise against Rashid Al-Dahiri for 3rd place. And Freddie Slater, if he's on his toes, ought to be able to gain a place or 2 or 3 from the timing line all the way around to Lisboa, but there must be a real feeling of the one that got away for Freddie in terms of a podium. Because I think top 10 would be as good as it would get from here on, but let's see. And again, Arvin Lindblad virtually parks the car and tricks everybody into thinking, right, it's going to be a really slow run now, and then it's up to him when he goes. But once you go, you've got to keep going. You can't go and slow, because obviously the chain reaction behind is dangerous. Now he goes, now he accelerates as he heads into Fisherman's Bend, turns right, he's on the power, and he's 2 lengths up from Charles Lung, who is taking Rashid Al-Dahiri with him.
Yeah, Charles Lung had watched and learnt, if you like, what the protocol was going to be from the race leader on the previous lap. Watched Freddie Slater do it. Has not been able to do it quite as well as Freddie, but was not bad on the restart, that's for sure, because Charles Lung hasn't got a big gap between himself and the leader as they head now down on this run towards the fast part of the circuit, and ultimately the run down towards Lisboa, where, if anywhere, the race leader would come under pressure from Charles Lung.
Race leaders go out of Mandarin, and Lung is in the slipstream, and Rashid Al-Dahiri is in the slipstream of Lung as well. So Charles Lung knows this is an opportunity, thinks about the inside line again, goes to the outside, but Lindblad knows how to defend into this corner and survives again. So Lung right under his rear wing, he's closed right up thanks to the slipstream, and he's brought Rashid Al-Dahiri with him. So it's 3 for the lead as they head up San Francisco.
Using every possible tactic to get round there that time at Lisboa, and I almost thought he was going to do it. Oh dear, oh dear. 2 more cars. One is the car of Thomas Lung, and the other is the car of Liu Qi-shun. So 2 cars down at Lisboa again.
Which hopefully can be moved just with the crane rather than needing a safety car. This is how they all got there then. So straight through the middle, no chance of slowing down, was the rather errant 22 of Thomas Lung, and the innocent victim of all of that just completely harpooned. But again, there was no way that car was going to slow down, and no wonder contact was made.
And so Arvid Lindblad has tried twice now to use his unique form of restart. Is he going to do the same 3 times? Are we going to have a safety car intervention? I'm pretty sure we will.
Well, I was hoping that because those cars are at the escape road, they might be craneable, but we'll see. It's late in the lap, isn't it, for a safety car, because this is Malco hairpin. Now, okay, the safety car can be deployed from pit exit, but we'll find out in a moment as the cars then come through. Arvin Lindblad still with the green lights flashing. Look at the lead he's built over the remaining, what, 2/3 of that lap over Charles Leung. So it looks as though Lindblad is away and gone, and if you aren't able to make the pass early in the lap, then that's pretty much game over. Lindblad able to control it all the way across the top of the gear circuit. He's coming up now to the end of lap number 8 in this Macau F4 race. They're second and third. Charles Leung just ahead of the turquoise car of Rashid Al-Daheri, the Emirati driver, and he in turn has got away from Jack Beaton in 4th place. Somebody else with damage has dropped a nose cone on the circuit.
Can't see who that is at this stage, but the car is limping round, so it's probably slightly more than just losing the no cone. And the reason that Charles Leung has maybe dropped back a little bit more now from the race leader is because he is under huge pressure from Al-Daheri as they go through Mandarin on the run down towards Lisboa. Watch Al-Daheri this time. What's he going to do? Pull out from the slipstream over to the left-hand side of the circuit on the run down towards the corner.
Can't overtake. Yellow flags, yellow lights.
Of course.
So whatever he thinks, he's got to sit there. And that shows intent against Charles Leung. So Charles thinks, OK, right, I know what you're up to next lap. So that was a really wasted opportunity through no fault of his own for Al-Daheri.
Yeah, it was. And you're quite right, no safety car. And that incident down at Lisboa, I forgot about it. I think he might have done as well.
That was a very, very big hit into the wall coming out of Fisherman's Bend. So it was more than just losing the nose cone. And
that's why the car is limping slowly, because the suspension broken on the left-hand side. Yeah,
that was Martinius Stenzel. So all that good work again comes to naught.
I know, but he's impressed.
Yes, largely. The pace was good, but
yeah,
one too many accidents over the weekend. But again, it's all about being a young learning driver, isn't it? Freddie Slater is up into the top 10.
Is he?
Yes.
Woohoo!
And I said 10th was as good as it might get. Well, he's not done yet, so Hadrian David is his next target. Freddie Slater 10th.
That's pretty good, isn't it? Pretty good. Now, I wonder, is that yellow flag going to be in at Lisboa this time when they come round? Yellow flag immediately on the timing screen says yellow flag at turn 3. So answer, no, not yet. So they've got a bit more time yet. Around Donna Maria they go. They've got the Melco hairpin to deal with before the circuit opens up and gets quicker and quicker. And that is ultimately the run down towards that overtaking opportunity. Al-Daheri right on the tail of Charles Leung, the double winner of the Macau Grand Prix, as they go around the hairpin. And now the circuit opens up. Now the speed goes down. And already the race leader is out of shot, because this battle for second place could well be a 3-car battle before too long, couldn't it? Because Jack Beaton is closing up onto the back of Al-Daheri as well. That's our race leader. And once again, like it was in the qualification race this morning, very, very impressive for Arvid Lindblad. Up towards the line they go. 9 laps completed now for the race leader, and we are green flag down at turn 3. So now maybe a change for position potentially for second place is more on.
So Al-Daheri gets into the draft, doesn't he now, and stays in the slipstream. Jack Beaton has caught back up as well, looking 4th place, so possibly helped by this squabble going on ahead of him. Down they come then towards Lisboa, and this yellow light there just blinks off, but down they come into the braking zone. I don't think Al-Daheri is going to be able to commit, but look what's going on behind for 5th. Ethan Ho versus Rafael Narak. They were side by side. Freddie Slater has just done the fastest lap of the race, by the way, in 10th spot. So he's continuing to push as the 2nd, 3rd, 4th fight heads up San Francisco. This time around, this being now lap 10.
Al-Daheri was not quite as close that time as he was on the previous lap, which is unfortunate for him, because on the previous lap there was a yellow flag at Lisboa. This time there wasn't, but wasn't quite as close. I wonder if some of that is because Jack Beaton has closed up right on the back, so not just a question of attacking, but also a question of defence as well for Rashid Al-Daheri. And closes up onto the back of Charles Leung. Now they're on the twisty part of the circuit. But fair play to Freddie Slater after a problem that we can only assume is some kind of electrical problem. The car slowed right the way down from 2nd place, dropped all the way down to 18th place, and now the recovery drive is quite impressive. The 2:24.978 is the fastest lap of this race, the only car to duck down into the 2:24s around the gear circuit here at Macau. And now we do have a 3-car battle for 2nd place and 3rd place, because Jack Beaton is closed right up on the back of number 14, Rashid Al-Daheri.
As Arvid Lindblad continues to build that lead. So, yeah, Beaton closing on Al-Daheri, who in turn is right there on the back of Charles Leung. And he's got a bit stuck, hasn't he? He's not been able to make a pass, but Charles Leung doesn't have the pace to get away either. So down they come through Black Sands towards the completion of this 10th lap of the Macau F4 race. There's a yellow flag at turn 18 as well, so there's been another drama, and that drama has happened coming through Donna Maria. That is turn 18, so there it is, another car off the circuit, and 96 brings out the safety car then. So the safety car is deployed for Xiao Kun Peng, and that is a third safety car period, and you know what I'm thinking. They might not have enough time left to get this back underway because there are 2 laps to go now.
Yeah, they're on lap number 11, 10 laps completed now by the top 8. And yeah, with safety car deployed and a car stricken on circuit, Freddie Slater makes up 1 place on that lap, so up into 9th place. Great drive, great recovery drive for Freddie. The pace is never in question, is it?
No, trouble is the safety car, I think, missed the leaders. And so it's there, look in the background with the lights on green, saying to the others behind, you can go past. But by the time they've gone and they've scooped up the leaders, it's all going to be too late. So here is how we lost Xiao Jun Peng. It was coming through police towards Moorish and bang into the wall.
Good avoidance by the following cars as well, because you don't expect to come around that corner and find the tail end of a Formula 4 car just sticking out from the barrier. So good driving, good anticipation. What do you do now if you're these top 4 but go slow? And
yeah, I mean, you back off and you obey the flag signals and you look for the safety car. You don't know where it is.
You can't look in your mirrors for it, can you?
No.
Because that's where it is.
Exactly. But the safety car, in a sense, if this were a wider conventional circuit, it could speed up and try and overtake the leaders. But around here, that's too risky.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's got the power, hasn't it?
It has got the power. But
Betty's tempted.
What it means is that it's going to be quite a lot of unravelling, and so the race is going to end under the safety car because we're on lap 11.
Most definitely, yeah.
So we've got a result, I'm afraid.
We have a result. Into police they go, and well, we haven't got a result because one of the cars could do what Freddie did and have some unfortunate problem and then not get to the conclusion of 12 laps.
Yeah, I'd love to know exactly what that was. He didn't pit, carried on, and clearly 9th. He had done the fastest lap, although Arvin Lindblad won that back last time. I don't think Freddie Slater will get to the press conference, of course, for the 9th, but those are the people that will know ultimately. And Rossan standing over his engineers, looking at all of the data, and he's the person to try and ask post-race, no doubt.
Technology is wonderful. I love it. I use it as part of my everyday life. It can be terribly frustrating sometimes, can't it?
Yeah.
These are pretty technologically advanced cars for what is essentially the first rung on the Slicks and Wings ladder to Formula 1.
And so, as Arvin Lindblad comes down through Fisherman's Bend, he's about to start the last lap of the race, still looking for a safety car.
So essentially he is the safety car. He's also the race leader at the moment, and that's Arvid Lindblad, who has not put a wheel wrong over the course of this weekend.
Next weekend, for the Formula 3 Grand Prix, there will be a virtual safety car, and that kind of gets away from these problems because you don't have to get the safety car anywhere with a pack of cars. You just slow people down, clear the incident, and assuming it's not too long and the tyres have dropped in temperature, you can let them go again. Or at least by a virtual safety car or a full course yellow, as it's called in other categories, you can slow everybody down and then deploy the safety car at your leisure. In a short race like this, maybe leisure is something that you don't have, but in the end, these drivers are now going to head to the checkered flag this time in this order.
And so, Arvid Lindblad won the qualification race today. He put the car on pole position in qualifying yesterday, which was a thrilling final 10 minutes to the qualifying session. Through Lisboa, he leads the field. Charles Leung finishes up in second place with his teammates ahead, double winner of the Macau Grand Prix.
And third is behind Charles Leung, going to be Rashid Al-Tahiri. Jack Beaton set for fourth place, and Ethan Ho fifth. Thiago Rodriguez sixth, Adrian David is seventh, Enzo Ye is eighth, and Freddie Slater, in a real yo-yo kind of a race, is in ninth spot. The race will finish behind the safety car except Arvin Lindblad thinks, what safety car? Never saw it, Gov.
Well, we've seen drivers being shown little videos on phones when they got back to the pit lane to explain the excitement that happened earlier on in their race, things that they wouldn't have been aware of. Adam Christodoulou in the GT4 race had a very, very, very near miss.
That's right, yes.
Behind him as he went into Lisboa. Didn't know anything about it really until he was shown on one of his team's mobile phones, probably a screen grab of the television set, and showed him, and the look on Adam's face when he saw what had gone on behind him, and probably the same is going to happen as far as the race leader was concerned. Where was the safety car? Let us show you. It was there, but it was just a little way back. And so, assuming the role of safety car leading the field is Arvin Lindblad, who in fairness has had the perfect weekend this weekend.
I was going off on a tangent. I was at a race in Austria last year where there was an incident on the first lap of the GT race. The safety car was deployed, and one of the cars involved in the incident got going and was rather delayed. And so at the end of the next lap, the safety car, to avoid the incident, brought the field through the pit lane. The car in question was so far back, it did not see everybody else go through the pits, came hammering over the line, hunting down the pack for the safety car, and took the lead. It overtook the safety car, which was still trundling through the pit lane. And mayhem broke out in trying to understand, first of all, how the car had got the lead, because that's not the sort of thing that a timing screen necessarily shows. And then, how do we redress this? What penalty can we give? Because it's technically overtaken the safety car, but the safety car was in the pit. So anyway, we kind of got there in the end, but it was one of those situations that took a lot of unravelling. And when the race director sends you a WhatsApp message saying, how is that in the lead? You realise that it's a troublesome moment. Anyway, the Macau F4 race will be won by Arvin Lindblad from Charles Lung and Rashid Al-Daheri. It's a shame it has to end under the safety car like this, but that has been the situation. But Arvin Lindblad deserves that win because he has put in a really outstanding weekend.
Certainly has done. The pace car did, the safety car did peel off into the pit lane just there, and then we have our race winner. So the winner of the Macau Formula 4 race for 2023 is Arvin Lindblad. He won the qualification race this morning. He took pole position in qualifying yesterday afternoon, and now he takes the win of the big one, the main race of the first weekend of the 70th Macau Grand Prix. Arvin Lindblad takes the win and takes the applause of the crowd, and so too a very happy team for the first time today. There you go, it was worth getting up early, wasn't it? First race of the day and last race of the day, and it has gone very, very well for the team, and so too for Arvin Lindblad. He takes the win. Double winner of the Macau Grand Prix, Charles Lung, completes the race in second place, and Rashid Al-Daheri in third place completes our podium.
Jack Beaton missing out. He's fourth ahead of Ethan Ho, and Thiago Rodriguez, who I've kind of talked up all weekend, and I feel a bit of a fraud in a way, because Thiago never quite clicked in the way that he has in the Chinese F4 Championship. But, I mean, sixth place is not bad, but he wasn't really able to take it to the international drivers. And Ethan Ho, even though he is from the region but races mainly in America, doing a good job to take that fifth place. Freddie Slater ninth, and oh, what it could have been.
Yeah, that's a superb comeback, but unfortunately, I think we can fairly confidently say a problem. It was nothing at all to do with Freddie. It was a problem with the car, but we don't know for sure until we get the final verdict from the team.
The only thing I can think of is if it wasn't an electrical glitch, that maybe he just touched a switch or something, but you know, we won't know until post-race.
But either way, it was superb before that problem, the performance from Freddie, and exciting. Having looked down at Lisboa twice, once after a safety car restart, once at the start of the race, but also the recovery drive from 18th place to 9th place, so finishing in the top 10. Well done, Freddie, once again proving that you are certainly one to watch.
Well, I suspect we will see him again at Macau, probably before long in a Formula 3 car, but Freddie Slater doing a very, very good job indeed to take ninth. But Arvin Lindblad, who also has his sights to move on and up, and I think we said on the grid, did we not, that he's a Red Bull athlete? Well, a win at Macau gets the attention of Helmut Marko, and that perhaps puts him in an even more prominent position for his Red Bull ascendancy to wherever that takes him next, possibly towards Formula Regional or Formula 3 for next year. But a mighty drive by Arvin Lindblad, and the cars then come through Melco hairpin right now, and towards Parc Fermé, where already the scrutineering officials await, and so too for the photographers. There'll of course be the podium for Arvid Lindblad, for Charles Leung and Rashid Al Daheri, and then the drivers will head to the press conference, and the celebrations then will get underway, and the hard luck stories will begin as an echo. So to the pit lane comes Arvid Lindblad with the car of Charles Leung in behind. And then Rashid Al Daheri taking third place. Jack Beaton, best of the rest, taking in the end fourth spot. And then for fifth, Ethan Ho and Thiago Rodriguez sixth. But it's the top three that we will have for the podium. And then, of course, there will be the Formula 4 press conference taking place after the podiums.
I think we'll hear from the drivers on the podium as well, with Chris, our circuit commentator in English. They do the circuit commentary here at Macau in 4 languages. So they're Mandarin, so 2 Chinese languages, and also Portuguese and English as well. And now the celebration for a winner here at Macau, and stands atop the car. Arvid Lindblad, very, very happy as he makes his way over towards the team. Hugs this morning, hugs this evening, and 100% record this weekend. And there we go, just undoing the intercom wires so the helmet can come off without any problem at all. After hugs all around for Arvid, he'll be pretty happy with that.
Tremendous effort. So the British driver goes to the scales, because the regulations dictate that the weight of car driver combined has to be no less than a given number. And then if all that's good, then he is sent towards the podium, and the podium ceremony will round out the day, but the camera can't go in, only the driver.
Yes, we're left in no doubt.
Yes.
You can't come along here.
Yes, nothing to see here.
only the drivers move away.
Yeah. Just to go back to your point about the way that the fans are treated with the different languages, it's not the same person doing it in 4 languages.
No.
There's an army of people. Arvid Lindblad it is that wins the race from Charles Leung and Rashid Al Daheri. That's the podium. Jack Beaton fourth from Ethan Ho and Thiago Rodriguez. Hadrian David from Enzo Ye. Freddie Slater ninth after his dramas. And Kai Darinani, who crashed this morning, rounding out the top 10. Decent recovery from him as well.
So that's confirmation of the final race result for the Macau Formula 4 race this weekend. And of course, next weekend, Formula 4 is replaced by Formula 3, FIA Formula 3 cars for our single-seater enjoyment next weekend. 4 days for the Macau Grand Prix, starting on Thursday with free practice and a little smattering of qualifying, and then qualifying and a little smattering of racing on Friday, and then racing all the way through on Saturday and Sunday of next week. Qualification races on Saturday. Much to look forward to celebrate the 70th Macau Grand Prix. And as you can see, it's beginning to get a little bit dark here at 2 minutes to 5 in the afternoon. In 1 hour's time, it will be pitch black, and Macau will light up in a different way. The lights of Macau, the hotels of Macau, everything about Macau is awash with coloured lights at night time. A unique part of the world, this, and celebrating the 70th Macau Grand Prix is a very busy couple of weeks here at Macau.
The place comes alive. It's vibrant anyway, and I know that everybody on Macau is so pleased to have the great numbers of people back, the economy booming once more, and just a real feel-good factor all weekend, hasn't there been?
Everyone's smiling every time we've looked at the fans in the grandstand when we've had slight delays out on circuit. Looked of joy and happiness, and they totally embraced this event, and quite rightly too. As cars are recovered from around the circuit in less than 1 hour, no, just over 1 hour, so about 1 hour, these roads will be the roads of Macau for another 12 hours. It's a weird feeling, isn't it?
It is. News from the pits. Prema think it was an electrical problem for Freddie Slater. They can't be sure until they get the car back, but towards the end of the race, the news was coming that they thought it was electrical, which is just one of those hellish problems for a driver, for a team, because you're never quite sure what it is that you can trace. But we will have, for third place, Rashid Al Daheri. We'll have Charles Lung for second, and Arvin Lindblad on the podium very shortly. The Macau F4 race certainly gave us drama, and as we expected, it has picked out one or two single-seater stars of the future, and they are about to be recognised and celebrated on the 70th anniversary Macau Grand Prix podium. Rashid Al Daheri, the Emirati, the Macau driver Charles Lung, and the British driver Arvin Lindblad, making a really international feel to the podium. And on the top step it will be the Red Bull-backed Arvin Lindblad as the winner of the 2023 Macau Formula 4 race. That is the podium that comes. It will round out weekend number 1 here at the Macau Grand Prix, and the star of the day for the Macau Formula 4 race is Arvin Lindblad. His winning margin of 0.2 of a second is all rather immaterial, given that it had to finish behind the safety car. But the one thing that you can confidently say is that he has been very much the star driver, whether it's been across qualifying, the qualifying race, or the main race, and he has stamped his authority on F4 here this weekend. Charles Lung for second, so one better than the qualifying race, and Rashid Al Daheri making it a bit of variety in terms of teams away from Prema on the podium, and he will make his way forward in a moment as the Prema squad, the Theodore Racing squad, David Kennedy there just on the left in the background with the spectacles on his head, who's kept that Theodore Racing link alive for many, many seasons now, yet again joining up with Prema. They're all there ready to celebrate a 1-2 finish. Oh, how they would have liked a 1-2-3, but it was just not to be today. So the drivers make their way to the back of the podium. The presentation party will be assembled, and then the trophy girls will be brought forward to the podium itself. Fastest lap of the race also went the way of Arvin Lindblad in the end. So pole, win, fastest lap, the triple whammy, illustrating his ability, his dominance, and his ability to not only fend off the opposition but also cope with the interruptions and the restarts.
To the 70th Macau Grand Prix, here comes the trophy presentation ceremony of the finale race of this weekend, Macau Formula 4 final race. First of all, let's welcome our top 3 finishers to the podium. The second runner-up, number 14, Rashid Al Daheri from UAE. And the first runner-up, number 11, Long Han Chiu from China. And of course, our winner, number 23, Arvin Lindblad from the UK. Congratulations to the top 3 winners. And now, may I have the honor to invite our guests to present the laurel and the trophy to the top 3 winners. Let's welcome Ms. Ao Young Yu, Secretary for Social Affairs and Culture and President of the Macau Grand Prix Organizing Committee, to present the laurel and the trophy to our top 3 winners. First, we have our UAE driver, Rashid Al Daheri. Congratulations. And up next, here comes to our first runner-up, Long Han Chiu from Macau, China. And of course, last but not the least, the winner of Macau Formula 4 final race, Arvin Lindblad from the UK. Congratulations! Will all the winners please hold up your trophy and look to the front for a group picture. It's a wonderful race. Thank you very much, and congratulations again to our top 3 winners. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ms. Ao Young. And now, with all the drivers, please remain where you are, as it's time for the champagne shower. Let our audience to share your glory moment. So loud cheers, ready from our audience. It's time. Be ready to pop together! Woo! Congratulations! again to our top 3 winners of Macau Formula 4 final race. Thank you. And once again, I would like to invite all the drivers, please remain here for some questions. And now I will hand over the time to Chris, please.
Thanks very much. Well done, guys. Let's grab away with all 3. Rashid, well done, my friend. I hope you're pleased with that, because that is a tremendous effort. 3rd place, the end of your first season in cars. You've got better and better all weekend long. How's it been?
Yeah, I mean, of course it was quite a tough weekend. Macau is a very special race. It's like there's the walls, so like as soon as you go over the limit, that's it for you. So it was important, yeah, to get closer and closer to the walls without him. I think we did a great job improving throughout the race, also throughout the weekend. Unfortunately, the last 2 laps, there was a yellow flag in T3, so we weren't able to battle much, but I think overall it was a good weekend, amazing track. I had a lot of fun, also this morning in the rain, so nothing to say, just amazing. Yeah.
Super job. Well done, Rashid. Charles, well done to you as well. 2nd place. What a record you've got at this place. That last 4 years, that's 2 wins, 4 podiums. What is it you love about Macau?
First of all, it's home. Second of all, it's having all the close people here, and yeah, racing here is just amazing. Every year, racing around here is just, yeah, it just feels special. And yeah, I hope I could continue every year, maybe later on. And yeah, let's hope next year I will be back again.
I know you'd like the win, but I hope you're pleased with that, because you fought really hard and you tried everything on the restarts.
Yeah, I tried everything, honestly, because this year I haven't been to much racing, so yeah, I was able to quickly adapt, so honestly I was quite happy with my ability, so hopefully next year I will have more opportunities to drive, so and I'll come back in Macau with more prepared. Yeah.
Hope so. Well done, Charles. Arvid, fantastic. Well done to you. That is, I mean, that's a trophy that's going straight to the top of the shelf when you get home. What is it that's so special about racing around a street track for you drivers? Is it because you have to be millimetre perfect? There's absolutely no room for error, and I guess it's thrill driving around somewhere like this as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing like it. It's been probably the most, one of, if not the most enjoyable weekend I've added driving. The track's just incredible. I love driving. Okay, it was my first street circuit, and I think it was the best place to have that experience. So close to the walls everywhere, especially in the mountain section, in the high speed. Whereas, yeah, each millimeter's lap time, and it's just so fun, so incredible. It's just pure, and I've loved every minute of it.
And you have to stay calm, don't you? Because Macau, you know, all the way through the practice sessions, the qualifying sessions, you're trying to get a rhythm. There's a red flag, there's somebody off, there's a safety car, there's a restart. There's a lot to handle.
Yeah, definitely. There's you've got to build it up. There's a lot of with the nature of the circuit. There's so much risk to it. If you just go all out from the beginning, you're in the wall in the first couple of laps. So you really need to build it up in practice, quali, and even the races you have to. It was difficult to properly get into the rhythm with all the safety cars and all the disruptions we had, but I tried my best. I managed to try and stay calm. Were a bit difficult. I don't think I managed them perfectly, but I tried my best. And yeah, I managed to just hold on to the lead on them. But yeah, just super happy with the result. Such an amazing weekend. So I'm just so grateful to everyone from the team.
Listen, if you win around Macau, you're a proper driver. So well done, my friend. Good luck for the future. Give the top three a huge round of applause, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. And once again, thank you to all the drivers.
Chris Hartley, the English language commentator, well, Midlands commentator, talking to the drivers, and Arvin Lindblad, Charles Lung and Rashid Al-Dakhiri are the top three being interviewed. I'll go to the press conference, but first let's look at the highlights of the Macau F4 race. Well, I think Formula 4, it's fair to say, delivered. It's a shame the race had its interruptions, but some really good fights. And as ever, with young drivers on the Macau circuit, you see who the stars are, who can cope with the pressure, who can adapt to the circuit, to the challenges, to the nuances very effectively. And Arvin Lindblad most definitely did that.
And how lovely was it that Formula 4 could be part of this weekend, the 70th Macau Grand Prix celebration. They have been part of this event. They have been the headline event for the last 3 years. And to be part of this event as well, even though we've got the return of FIA Formula 3 cars for next weekend, to be part of this weekend, it just feels right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And actually, I think it's right also that they are recognised, because they've kept the event through the Grand Prix tag not alive, but they've contributed.
Not
really.
Sure would have happened without.
Yeah, the only realistic single-seater option you could have had.
Yes.
And so I think it would have been wrong for them to be ignored in the 70th anniversary year. And look, if we end up with F4 and F3 next year again, I'm all in favour of that, because I think you're seeing more stars. And actually, there's a sort of worldwide growth again in single-seater racing. We've had a real spell of teenagers turning their back on it to go GT racing. But gradually now, Formula Regional, increased Formula 4, to a lesser degree maybe GB3, GB4 in the UK. Single-seater racing for young drivers is starting to come back up again in the conscience, and the teams are there again. And so for that to be headlined by an F4 race here as an international shootout, I'm in.
I agree 100%, and it was quite right and proper that we should have Formula 4 on the first weekend of the 70th Macau Grand Prix celebration, this festival of motorsport here in Macau, attracting drivers and riders next weekend, because of course we've got motorcycles making their second year return for the Macau Grand Prix. Looking forward to that. Some top riders as well, world-class riders competing here at Macau next weekend, but also drivers as well, and attracting the attentions of fans from the region and from around the world as well. Many people flying here to Macau to enjoy the celebration, and it's a double celebration this weekend. So too is it a double celebration for these drivers, making it for the second time today onto the podium in the media centre here, the new media centre for 2023 here at Macau, because we are about to hear from the top three drivers in Macau F4 race in the press conference. They get themselves ready, and they'll be answering questions in just a couple of moments to the members of the media in this now very large.
Good evening and welcome to the post-race press conference for the Macau Formula 4 race at the 70th running of the Macau Grand Prix. We are joined by our top three. The winner, Arvid Lindblad; in second, Charles Leong; and in third, Rashid Al-Dahari.
歡迎大家嚟到第70屆澳門格林希治大賽車澳門4級方程式大賽賽事嘅賽後記者會。首先恭喜我哋台上面嘅3位車手，佢哋分別係第1名林伯雷、第2名梁漢超同埋第3名嘅達亞尼。
Arvid, you've been the man to beat since yesterday, since we kicked this thing off. You must be delighted to actually convert that pace and be sitting here at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really good week. From the beginning, the speed's been strong. I felt really comfortable from free practice immediately, and then into quali. Quali was really good, strong all throughout. Then a bit in the different conditions this morning in the wet, but still felt comfortable. Had good pace on the couple laps we did, and then now in the main race, I knew it was going to be difficult on the start and then also the restarts. I knew there was a really high risk of safety cars, so I was going to have to be on it on the restarts. So I tried as best I could to manage them well. It was difficult. I definitely could have done a better job, but just managed to hold on. But yeah, like you say, obviously super delighted. Such a historical track, such an amazing place, amazing event. On the 70th anniversary, first ever street circuit for me. Just, yeah, over the moon with the results, so happy. I've just loved this weekend, and to driving the track's just been so enjoyable and so incredible.
好，啱啱我哋嘅冠軍車手林伯雷咧就同我哋分享咗啦，其實佢就覺得佢今個比賽週末嘅表現咧都非常之理想嘅。咁喺起步啦，同埋其實佢嘅表現都覺得自己做得唔錯啦，同埋佢喺架車裏邊都覺得好適應到嘅。喺排位賽開始咧，佢就已經做出唔錯嘅成績啦。雖然今朝嗰場賽咧，佢就因為賽道比較濕滑啦，咁所以佢覺得自己做得一般，但係都可以接受嘅。咁喺今次嘅賽事開始之前咧，其實佢已經預計到比賽咧將會係 非常之激烈啦。咁同埋賽事亦都有安全車嘅出現啦，所以每一次起步咧佢都非常之小心。喺整個比賽過程當中咧，佢覺得自己都有一定嘅進步空間啦。咁但係咧都好開心可以攞到冠軍嘅，好開心可以嚟到第70屆澳門格蘭披治大賽車。
Another one for you, Arvid. I mean, Freddie was giving you a pretty hard time there at the start of the race and on that first restart. Was it relief to see him drop back, or would you have liked to have sort of carried on the fight and seen it out?
Yeah, he definitely did make my life a bit difficult in the beginning. It was an intense fight all the way through to, I'd say, the exit of T9. It was really close and putting the pressure on. Obviously, I was surprised, didn't know what happened when I saw him drop back. Initially, I've had a bit of relief that it gave me that margin. But obviously, yeah, it would have been great to continue to have that fight. But yeah, I mean, I'm still happy with how it panned out.
剛才咧，佢亦都分享到同史雷特之間嘅好激烈嘅呢個爭位戰啦。咁其實咧喺整個過程當中，直至到史雷特退賽之前呢，佢哋兩個之間咧都非常之激烈嘅。咁對方咧亦都俾好大嘅壓力文伯雷啦。咁但係咧佢都好開心，兩個人咧可以基本上冇任何嘅插碰啦。咁雖然好可惜，史雷特最後就未能完賽啦。咁但係佢都對賽果係非常之滿意嘅。
Charles, you've been a winner here when it was a more sort of localised field. Is it nice to be here in an international field and show that you can mix it, you know, with these guys and be on the podium?
First of all, huge thanks to Macau government for hosting this amazing event every year and again. And also throughout COVID, and also thanks to SJM Theodore Premier Racing to have me here. Yeah, definitely to have the international drivers here, it's very nice, and also it's good learning, and also to see where I can improve and adapt more, and to see if there's any difference with my teammates. So yeah, it's a learning process, and I was adapting to the car mainly, so yeah, I can see that I still have the ability to contend at the top level if I am more frequently in motorsport. So yeah, let's see later on. And yeah, I'm very happy to have international drivers here, and yeah, was having a lot of fun.
And Charles, can you also say a few words to our audience in Chinese?
首先好多謝澳門政府可以繼續續辦澳門大賽車啊！亦都係70週年，都非常之重要嘅，同埋都好感謝澳娛德利 Prima 車隊可以令我翻嚟啦。咁同國際車手一齊再比賽，我覺得係非常之開心，亦都可以更加學習到更加多嘅嘢啊！雖然今個禮拜真係最主要適應車輛，因為之前冇揸過呢部車，咁係咯，都見到自己仲有能力嘅。如果可以更加長，即係用更加多嘅時間練習，因為今年真係賽車賽得非常之少，所以亦都見到自己係有呢個能力嘅，係咯，所以都非常之開心。
Rashid, you had Charles just in front of you there. You had Jack Beaton right behind you. Did you have some fun out there with that sort of battle that was going on?
Yeah, definitely. It was a very interesting pack. I think you couldn't make a mistake. You had to always be on the pace, not help the other driver behind be close at the exit of the final corner, because the slipstream down the straight is quite strong. Yeah, I think overall it was quite a good race. We were able to do a good job, I think, in building the weekend. We were able to improve, I think, every step. And yeah, the final race, we were quite close to Charles. We were able to almost make the move, but there was a yellow flag in the let's say, the most important braking zone, which is the best place to overtake. But yeah, overall, I think the pace, we did quite a good job in building it up, and yeah, we always got closer to the walls.
好，咁剛才咧季軍得主達亞尼都有同我哋分享啦。咁其實佢喺比賽過程當中咧，基本上可以話係前後夾攻啊。佢喺追緊前車嘅過程當中咧，亦都比後車得非常之貼嘅。咁佢就覺得整個比賽都要好小心啦，因為其實喺東望洋賽道上邊咧都好容易會犯錯啦。 尤其是係最後嗰一個彎，因為轉出嚟大直路咧，其實都好考技巧嘅。整體嚟講咧，佢覺得自己喺今個週末嘅表現都非常之好啦，賽事亦都鬥得非常之好，同埋自己咧係有進步嘅。其實佢喺賽事黃旗之前呢，有一段時間其實同梁漢超都好近嘅，但係只可惜黃旗咧就打亂咗個步伐啦。咁佢整個比賽嘅週末嘅步伐，佢就覺得都 OK 嘅。咁同埋覺得攞到第3名都好開心。
Arvid, one more for you. You're a winner here in Formula 4. Would you like to be back here in a Formula 3 car maybe next year?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm almost a bit gutted at the moment that I'm not able to race next week. That would be great fun. But yeah, obviously I hope to come back next year with Prema. We'll see what happens, but I'd say yeah, that's hopefully the plan. I've loved this weekend, and yeah, I can't wait to drive this track in an F3 as well. So I'd just like to say huge thanks to, like Charles said, to SJM, Theodore Prema Racing, everyone from Macau for organising such a great event. Yeah, and also just to everyone from the team, my engineer Ben, my mechanic Andrea, and just everyone who's just helped me this weekend. So thank you.
好，咁剛才咧林伯雷都有同我哋分享到啦，咁佢覺得自己下個星期咧參加唔到 F3 賽事，佢覺得好可惜啊！咁希望可以喺下一年咧翻嚟東望洋賽道啦，喺一架3級方程式賽車裏邊咧可以再戰東望洋嘅。最後咧佢亦都好多謝澳門大會啦，咁同埋車隊嘅所有人對佢喺今個比賽週末嘅幫助。
Do we have any questions from the media here? Congratulations again to our top 3. If you could just sort of stand together up there for the photographers before you take off, that would be great.
That was the press conference from the Macau Formula 4 race here for the first weekend of the 70th Macau Grand Prix. Thank you for your company wherever you are in the world. I hope you've enjoyed the broadcast over 2 days, over yesterday and today, and that is just day 1 and 2 of our coverage from Macau. It all gets underway with Macau Formula 3 Macau Grand Prix next week on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sundays. The Macau Motorcycle Grand Prix, the Macau Touring Car Cup, the Macau Grand Prix 70th Anniversary Challenge, the Macau Gear Race, the Macau GT Cup and loads more. It's all coming up. Join us once again, 7:45 local time in the morning on Thursday. Good night.